Welcome to Take It from the Ironwoman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Ironwoman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Ironwoman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take It from the Ironwoman. We have another episode with Tracy. She's a seasoned media expert with over 3,000 interviews from articles in Authority magazine, BuzzFeed, and in Inc. magazine. Tracy brings diverse views from what works and what doesn't work from thought leaders and industry icons redefining success around the globe. Listen to the second episode where she gives out 3 tips to podcasters. And it can be for anybody, not just podcasters. I hope I don't do anything wrong. I have 430 episodes.
Told you on my show that getting to over 400 episodes puts you in the elite. You've learned something from that 430. Does it mean you should stop learning? That's the part when I see someone who does not want to hear, they are not coachable. They don't want to hear what's next for them. They don't want to hear, they think, I've been doing this for 430 episodes. I've got this, and there's nothing you can teach me. Because YouTube changed something yesterday, Apple will change something tomorrow, and you won't be able to keep up because that's not your core expertise.
Obviously, my core expertise is connecting to people, asking the question, creating a relationship, having the people tell their story so others can learn from them. But the editing and the technology process, please stay away from me.
Don't do it. Yeah. But
yeah.
There are ways where, and this is what we don't always do. A lot of times you have resources already that you use and you trust, but you don't ask them the question. And that's what I find is the biggest problem with most, I'm going to say entrepreneurs in general, but it is also leaders, because leaders expect that they're supposed to have all the answers, but we don't. We're learning stuff new. We're just at a different level than maybe the followers that are under us or our team members or our staff. Whatever it is, we're just a little bit ahead of them. But we're experimenting all there, and we're learning what not to do just as much as we're learning what to do. Mm-hmm. So what you have to do is when you've got somebody that you've been working with for a while, and you stumble into some kind of thing that's not working for you, go ask that person, even if it's not related to the services that you're buying from them today, because they will be straight with you. I have never seen anyone, when someone asks me something totally unrelated, I just have this little note that says, I need a LinkedIn expert. Who do you recommend, Tracy? Like, somebody just asked me that today, and I got to go through my database and find the LinkedIn expert that I can see his face, but I can't think of what his name is. So I got to go through my content library to figure it out. And I'll give it to him and say, hey, I don't know if he's still doing this, but I was really impressed by what he had to say here. And this is why.
So then you're also a connector. You see the people and you connect them. That's how the world should be.
Well, imagine that. You've talked to 400 plus people. If I asked you, you would say, I don't know that this is the right answer for you, but it might lead you to the next thing. Might lead you to the answer. So if you're not reaching out to people you trust that you think do a really good job of curating people, curating ideas, then you're wasting the resources that are right in front of you. And that is not allowed as a leader. We have to cut waste everywhere. That is our job as leaders. We can't be overpaying for things. We can't have all excess waste in anything that we do. So if we're not utilizing the relationships we built, then we're actually wasting our resources.
And I have to say, thinking what you're just saying is, I actually use my podcast almost to nurture my network. I reach out to people and say, hey, and then at the end of like most of the pet podcasts, I'm asking, who else should I be connected with? Send me people, send me interesting, cool people. So if one person, that's a 6th degree of separation in LinkedIn, together we can create so many more connections and great connections. How on earth can we create the good connections to bring to the good people?
I'm always a little reluctant to I'm going to say we have relationship capital, but that doesn't mean every dollar is created equal when we talk about having capital. So when you hear from venture capitalists, they're like, I don't want to take dumb money. You've heard that term before. I don't want to take money that has no assistance involved in it. If I'm going to take in money into my company and you're going to take equity from my company, but you're not going to get me a connection to more equity or a connection to more expertise, then it's considered dumb money. It just was money in, but it did nothing else to grow the company but give it cash. So I look at that as the same thing with relationship capital. There's some people that I'm glad I know, and they're name dropper. You can name drop them and people are like, well, be the thing. But I know they're actually not a resource for me. I never refer anybody to them. I wouldn't consider their advice valuable. Like that's an aha for you in understanding the relationships that you built. Where's the value in it? Who gives back? Who connects more? Who pays it forward? Who does all of those things in your relationship? That's the gold that you have to go sift through and really find. I have lots of ways that I do that. Sometimes I test the relationship. I want action takers. So I always put it on them to take the actions. Hey, instead of, I'll connect you up with my partner and husband, you can have a sales call with them, I'll say, reach back out to me and let me know if that interests you. That way I put it on you to take the action with me. And if you take the action, then I know you're probably going to be a good client when I do refer you over to him. I wouldn't just push the sales in because I might not get the good results because all I did was interview them. I don't know if they're any good. I don't know anything about what it's like to work with them yet. And taking a step and an action and doing something that's a little bit harder, a little bit more resistance in the process actually is really good, because it shows you someone who's going to be dedicated to keep and take it forward. So we have this saying in our company, the podcasting is full of pod faders. That's why you're at such an exception at over 400 episodes, right? Pod faders are those that quit their show without ever telling their listeners they quit. That's how it happens. And so they just fade off, and then they just decide to eventually cut it off. They just got busy, things happened, but it wasn't a priority. It wasn't important to them. And usually it happens early. It happens before 25 episodes. That's where the highest pod fade happens. We have a lower pod fade rate than any other production and hosting company in the industry. The reason is simply this. No one comes onto our platform for free. There's no free user level. You put money in, so you're committed to it. Even if it's only $29, it's still commitment. You put your credit card in, you're committed. And then the second thing is, if they're going into any of our higher levels of services, they've already kind of had to jump through a few hoops to even get through that process. And so we already have tried to screen out the people who won't put in the work. There's many times that we practice this where we will say, I would love to service your podcast. I would love to help you create this. However, I'm not sure you're quite ready and this is the right time for you. Go ahead, reflect on that, think about that, and know that I'm going to be here when it is the right time for you. And they will commit down at that level. They will have put that up, and then now their ego is in play. Their ego is saying, I'm gonna finish this because you told me I couldn't or I wouldn't. So that helps for certain types of people who need to be held accountable. And then the others will be like, gosh, I can't believe you just turned down my business. But you're right. I need to launch my book first. I need to finish my course first. I need to do this. But what happens with them? They refer 3 times as many people as someone else. So they're not even a client.
Listening to you, you're authentic, you're honest, you're direct. You say you're not committed, so this might not be the time to work with us. And then people hear it and they're like, no, I want to be committed. Where do you see the trends with the podcasting? We know there's like 4 million podcasters out there and 25 episodes or less. People start and they're like excited, but then they see how much work it is.
Yeah, the last time I checked, there's only about 320,000 active podcasters who are posting every single week and every single month. There's something like that. 3.5 million shows out there that quit, that are done, that don't publish every single week because there are a lot of listeners out there. looking for shows. So there's a lot of room for it if you're going to be committed. You need to pick the guest that your audience, what you're curious about. You need to pick the guest that's right for you. But you have to make the decision. Is this right for me? Instead of just accepting them all. And making those choices are what's going to make your show amazing and wonderful and what's going to make it stick around. And so there's a lot of room for really good current voices. Look, I left a gap in the 3D print industry.
You said you have 70 employees?
I have 70 team members around the world. Yep. We have a full-time training program. So we train them in everything that they do. They usually don't come in with more than basic skills. So they might be a transcriber. We do AI transcriptions, but editors come in. So we really need them to have a copy editing experience. So we bring them in, but we train them how to do it with our system. We don't want anyone to look like they're exactly the same. I'm opposed to that. That's bad design. I don't want everybody to look exactly the same in the real estate industry. I have probably about 50 podcasters in the real estate industry in my client base. If everybody's show looked the same, if everybody's copy read the same, how terrible would that be? At the end of the day, it didn't sound like your voice. It didn't sound like you. Then we didn't do our job. We have to get to know your brand. And that requires a two-way conversation. I have to have clients who are really good at giving feedback. And sometimes people aren't. Why they don't like the style or design or visuals of something. They're dissatisfied, but they're not telling us why.
All I can say is I'm learning so much and I have to revisit my podcast, my website. What is wrong? What is right? Where do we go?
Well, but the other thing is it's really hard to do that in a vacuum. It's really hard to do it when you only have your own show to compare it against. We've launched as a company 1,300 different shows in less than a decade. So if we've launched that many shows and some were successful and some weren't, we have a lot of learnings about what did work and what didn't work, where the overlap happens, where the likelihood for failure exists. How many people go into podcasting and don't want a listener to be able to email them? I can't even think of a single reason why you would do that unless you were running a completely anonymous show. Make it easy for those listeners to reach out to you. Because that's why you did this.
Thank you so much for giving all that free advice to us. I hope the listeners are carefully listening to what Tracy and her husband are doing. I have one last question. What do you do when you don't work? You seem to be such a bubbly and active person. How do you rejuvenate?
So, well, lucky for me, I am an extrovert. So I enjoy talking to people. Like it actually energizes me. It doesn't drain me. But I'm a big reader. And that's what I do in my downtime is I will read just about anything. But my daughters consume all my time. Lately, I am like the cheer mom. My girls are both in cheerleading and tumbling, and I am the cheer mom all the time. And so I have spent so much energy this summer just doing nothing but making sure the cheer squad's organized. It's almost like a second business. And I thought I was doing it to like help out, and instead it turned into more work. So yeah, I'm not really good at the downtime. It's something I need to get better at.
Okay. We'll work on you.
That's right. We're going to work on me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tracy, and good luck with everything. What a cool episode. What are you taking away? Are you a podcaster? Are you a listener? Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday with very cool guests. You can learn with them. You can grow with them. You can listen to them. And Take It from the Ironwoman is also the book Global Business Coaching with Sports Parallels. Download it or get it in your local bookstore.